And good morning, my beautiful America. Welcome back to the All American Book Club. Ladies and gentlemen, we are live here in our nation's capital, beautiful, shining city on a hill, as Ronald Reagan always said. And we get to bring back to the show for, I guess, the second, maybe third time. I mean, Jane Hampton Cook, you guys already know her, and she is so popular on my summer best read list. And she's going to be very popular again this summer because she has a bunch of new things coming out. So, okay, I'm going to jump really quickly. Everybody who's watching us on YouTube, she's right here. You can see her. But those who are tuning in live on the podcast or live on the Airstream, I'm showing the beautiful cover of Why the 4th of July for the America's 250th. Did you guys realize that? Okay, I'm talking. Jane, I'm so excited to have you as I'm banging the thing. I'm sure it's making this noise. But man, we have so much to talk about. And so much fun to see you at NRB last week.
Yes, it was great. Thank you. Great. Yes, awesome.
So, okay, we have a bunch to talk about. Oh, let me just talk about what I love right here first.
Okay.
I love this cover. I love these books. And I just told you the kids that get them in my life. So let's talk about this first.
Okay.
So tell me about this aspect of this book and the 250th, and just kind of give me the whole synopsis on it.
Sure. So this is a series called Revolutionary Readers for America's 250th, and it's for elementary school children, or like children ages, 4, 5 to 11, 12. And the books are numbered, they correlate with grade level, but there weren't any patriotic books in this numbering kind of book genre on Amazon. There were a couple of, historical ones, but not much, mostly Disney princess. And I just thought with the 250th, there's a need to introduce children and reconnect to the flag. The Pledge to the Flag is one of the names of the book. We have 2 patriotic songs that are part of the series, America the Beautiful and My Country 'Tis of Thee. And so this latest book is, if you can only afford to get one book for America's 250th for your children, Why the 4th of July is it. Because it shows, well, why is July 4th our birthday and not other dates that did that? And then you learn a little bit about those earlier moments, and then understand by the end of the book why the 4th of July is our of independence. And so, but the pictures are fun, and they have kids in them, and it's just a really great book. And 2025 is also the 250th of the battles of Lexington and Concord and the Battle of Bunker Hill, and those are in the book.
I don't know if many people even realize that.
Yeah.
I mean, when you really sit there and think about it, it's like, people who love history, who love America, the pro-America aspect, they may know it, but I sit there and say, did I even know that? I feel like our generations missed the real aspects of our American history. It wasn't taught.
Yeah. And Paul Revere did his favorite ride that night.
Yep.
In the book, I mentioned how Peter Salem was a freed Black man who got his freedom, and he decided to be a Minuteman. And he fought at the Battle of Concord, and then fought for several years in the American Revolution. So it's good to kind of look at that again. It's like, oh, I didn't know this, or this, or what a sacrifice that was, and to point that out to people, that these people lived loudly for liberty for us, and because they wanted the next generations to have it better than they did.
Absolutely. Well put. So let's talk about next generations, but what you see on the horizon. You have other projects that are happening right now, and I want to kind of zero in on those projects. One, you have an amazing Substack, and how often do you put that out? Is it once a week?
It's about twice a month.
Twice a month. Okay.
It kind of comes in spurts, because like the inauguration, I was able to do several articles.
Right.
Comes in bits and spurts, but sometimes I'll take a topic that's more current. One of the things that I observed about President Trump's new administration and President Trump himself was that listening is a purposeful activity that they are doing. Caroline Leavitt, when she was asked what surprised her the most, she was like, well, he listens to every opinion in the room. And it's not just, oh, I'm listening to the expert on topic A. It's asking topic A to to another person topic B. He's really synthesizing information, and his cabinet is doing that as well. When Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, he exercised with the soldiers on the ground, and that was just, you know, for a good photo op. That was so that he could hear from them directly what their needs were and how things were really functioning. And so I think it's just been a really good look at, you know, and Sean Duffy, the transportation secretary, he brought in experts because they want to rebuild a state-of-the-art system, but he's talking to air traffic controllers first to find out, well, how is this one working or not working for you? And so I think we forget that just that skill of listening is really important, and I think they are demonstrating that quite well right now.
Absolutely. Well, you had brought something up from that Substack, the comparison of George Washington and Trump. Talk to me about that.
Now, one of the qualities of George Washington that I learned in studying him for some of my books, Battlefields and Blessings, that series, is that he was a good listener. And so, you know, his worst year in the American Revolution was probably 1776 because he lost the state of New York to the British. And so near the end of the war, of course, they didn't know it was going to be the end of the war, but he really wanted to go to New York City and to defeat the British there because they occupied New York City. But his trusted officer, the Marquis de Lafayette, was in Virginia. He said, you know, I think the general here, the British general, looks like he's digging trenches. I think he's going to be here a while. And someone else sent him a letter saying, you know, I would rather go. It was a French admiral. I'd rather go to Virginia. So he listened to them, even though it would have given him great glory to have defeated the British in New York City. He chose Yorktown, Virginia, and that ability to put aside your agenda for the better good is an amazing quality. And that's that listening quality that President Trump has, that George Washington had, you know, in abundance.
Yeah. You know, I sit here and think it reminds me of Reagan too. In
Yeah.
many instances, Reagan had that ability. He was the great communicator, but being a great communicator is you listen.
Exactly. Yeah, Reagan was really skilled at that as well.
You know, I want to go back for a second, and we have obviously more to talk about, but you know, I remember reading some of your pieces during the inauguration, and obviously we're only, what, a month and a half? I mean, you know, I think I keep joking that the legacy media is having PTS because, I mean, they actually have to work now. And, you know, and Trump every day is something new with Trump, which I absolutely love because work is actually getting done. You know, things are getting passed, America. And I said this in another interview, America, the patriotism is alive. It's well. People are thirsty and they're hungry and they are seeing what America actually is and how beautiful it is, how amazing it is, the pro-America aspect versus being pro anything else. And, you know, seeing the inauguration in the past month and a half, what did you kind of come away from that? You know, seeing it was inside the Capitol this time around, which hasn't happened in a really long time. You know, you had Melania's stunning outfit, but it was a statement piece for sure. You know, you look at that aspect, you know, all the things that I kind of sit there and say, and then I sat there and basically transcribed you know, the whole speech, you know, for all the different clients I represent, saying, okay, he talked about this, golden age, new era, all those kinds of things. But what did you really take away as a presidential historian that I see you as, and just all pro-America with your writings? What were some of the things that impacted you?
No, I think seeing it in the Capitol Dome, even though that was because of cold weather, that move, that change, I liked those historical paintings as the best because it visually connected where we are now to where we were 250 years ago when we were fighting to become a free country. And that's what we're going to celebrate in 2026, our 250th birthday. And what, you know, I think what has surprised me is just how quickly these things are coming, rapid fire. You know, when I worked in the White House, one of the things I understood and learned is that the clock is ticking, and you only have a limited amount of time to get things done. But I've never seen warp speed like what we're seeing right now. And it doesn't seem like we're getting dragged down into the mire of things as much, and we're just quickly, moving forward steps at a time, and everyone has their, area and they're working it. And, not every president could be that nimble and could handle that much incoming as well as the outgoing.
Right.
Just that is astonishing. I don't know that we'll ever see that. I think it would be a long time before we could replicate that.
Yeah.
It's just amazing. And the patriotism is very real. I think people have wanted to feel good about America again
Yeah.
for a long time, and they've been hungry, like you said, for that, to root and cheer. And I saw someone who had watched President Trump's State of the Union address, or his speech to Congress, and she had resisted, but then when she saw that other members of the Democrat Party weren't applauding the 13-year-old boy with brain cancer, she was like, that was too far for her, because people want to be able to jointly root for America. And that means rooting for Americans who've overcome difficulties in their life.
Yeah.
That hunger is there, and it's being fed.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, just seeing that little boy, I don't care what color he is, but they couldn't stand up.
Yeah. And I think that was revealing to some people who realized, well, maybe I need to think of things a little different.
Yeah.
And that where's our humanity? We can't lose our humanity over political differences.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's people can see that.
Yeah, there was a meme, and I'll make it a little bit more lighthearted, but it was Elizabeth Warren, and it was the saying, "Where is the humanity?" As she was looking at her phone. I don't know if you saw it, and she was checking her stock on Big Pharma.
Oh, she was.
I mean, I don't, somebody came up with that, and I'm sitting there thinking, yeah, that's very accurate. That's about that nail. That's right there, right there, nail on the head. Okay. So, gosh, our interview is going by so quick. I want to talk about this big adventure that you have been on that's coming out in theaters June 9th, which is going to be here before we know it. So talk to us about this brand new film that you've been working on. We saw you at NRB highlighting it. So tell us about the name, how it all started, everything.
So the name of the film is called The American Miracle. It's adapted from a book by Michael Medved of the same name. And Michael looked at these moments in American history, especially during the nation's founding, when miracles happened that could not be explained in human terms. And he wrote a book, and he went through them all. He actually went, I think all the way through World War II. But looking at these acts of providence, which meant God's presence. And so a lot of what I've written in the past, I've told some of those same stories.
Yeah.
So I'm an online scholar in this film. It's a docudrama, which means reenactments and then commentary from historians and scholars. And then Michael Medved is the narrator of the film. But you will really see how special America really is, that it was not an accident, that there were just things that were unexplainable, like a fog that covered the Continental Army and protected them from the British seeing them, and they got away. On boats from Long Island to Manhattan. And there was no fog at Manhattan. It was only at Long Island where they were. So there were many of those kinds of things. And even in George Washington's life, which I've written about, a couple of those things I've actually put in the book, Why the 4th of July. I've made it kid-like to be understandable by children. But yeah, and so this movie, I think can really spark some of that patriotism and help people say, oh, I didn't know that. Wow. And that we have a lot to be grateful for. And I think that was my son's takeaway. We went to a preview showing of it, and my 11-year-old son says, I think I need to be more like George Washington because he was so grateful.
Oh, wow.
That was the takeaway.
That's impressive, Jane. Well done. Oh, well, but that says something, because, you and I, we can commentate all day long on the TV shows and news shows. We can write about it. And, I take a step back. I did an interview earlier this week, and I kind of sat back and said, should I have really said that? But I think deep down, I said it because I believed it. And here's my point. My generation, I'm not sure the age difference between us, but I sit there and say, I feel like my generation is so pathetic
Mm.
because we have not done a good enough job of instilling pro-America values into our next generation. I'm not a mom. I am an aunt. I'm a godmom. I'm a community concern, community member.
Mhm.
And I sit there and go through all these things, and I'm like, have we not done a better job? And the reason why I said that earlier this week on that show was because I see a lot of my generation posting on social, pro this and pro that, but not pro America.
Mhm.
And I sat there and thought, do you guys really realize what you're saying? Do you get what you're saying? And is it because we weren't taught enough in our schools? Were we not taught enough in that time period? Kind of like I said to you, gosh, I need to hit refresh on my history, going through some of those things. But I digress. You see where I'm going with that as you are putting together these powerful pro-America tools for our next generation. Where can and I say we, come alongside of you and be able to instill this so we do have a country in
Mhm.
30 years, 20 years, 8 years. I mean, everybody's like, hurry up, we gotta get it done in 4 years. I'm thinking, okay, I know we do, but gosh, you know what I'm saying?
Well, when my 11-year-old was a first grader, he was in
Yeah.
school, our local community school, and he brought home these pillars of like these 6 statements that the school district that every person could be able to do these 6 things. And I noticed that it prioritized global citizenship. That was
Mm,
to produce global citizens. And then underneath that, with the bullet points, it mentioned America. And I thought, okay, we need to love our neighbors and respect our neighbor.
right. Exactly.
If we can't protect our communities and grow our communities and our homes, then the global is not going to help you. you know,
No,
we
no.
need to
Uh-uh.
prioritize that America first. It doesn't mean America alone. It just means we've got to prioritize the needs of our American citizens and be there for each other. And you're right, that mentality is in schools, and maybe it was fun to kind of focus on global stuff at one point, but now
Right.
we see the downsides. And again, you can teach your children to be respectful of others.
Right.
Fits within the mold of patriotism, and that our country, one of the beauties of it is that how many people have come here from across the world who want to be an American, who
Yeah.
want to live here, and they want freedom of speech or freedom of religion. I mean, the lady that I go to for getting my nails done, she came here from Vietnam, but she came here because she had become a Christian and she wanted to be able to go to church, and she couldn't do that openly in Vietnam. And so, that freedom of religion is important, and all of those principles, we've got to understand those things. And I think the way to do it is through movies like The American Miracle. It's through books
Yeah.
like Why the 4th of July. It's having more films. I've got a couple more films I'd like to get out.
Yeah.
I'm not the producer behind The American Miracle. I just came
Yeah.
alongside them and helped. But I think film especially is a really great way. If we can get more films made with the
Yeah.
and themes, I think the audience is there. It's
Yeah.
it's an expensive thing to do, but people digest things visually now
Yes, they
probably more
do.
than ever. And so to put some of that, into the populace, there's a movie called Washington's Armor that you can get on
Mm,
on Amazon Prime, and it's a great
right.
about George Washington's early days.
Mm,
um that that's a really great story that's being told, so
mhm.
getting all of that out there and
Yeah.
being, is important.
Well, yeah, and you're correct. Even thinking about the movie Reagan that came out last year
Mhm.
and, hearing how it was basically eliminated from the award ceremonies because it was too pro-America.
Yeah.
And so you sit there and say that's where we the American people, we need to rise up and continue to produce more of this content so we can instill it in us and then instill it in our neighbors and our friends and our next generation for sure. We are just down to the second. So where can people follow you, hear you speak, get involved with all the things that you have coming down the pike. And I can't wait to have you back over the summer because I know you have more up your sleeve. You're so much fun. And I love having you on the summer read list.
Yes, thank you so much. So I have a website. It's really simple, janecook.com. I
Mhm.
also have a Substack called janehamptoncook.substack.com. And you can sign up for free and you can get monthly content,
Mhm.
sometimes several times a month. And that's where I put my books and what I'm doing and all of that good stuff. And I say, wake up this year with 2025 because 2026 is coming, and just I want people to reconnect with who we are as Americans and where we came from, because I think that gratitude spills over into a healthy society.
Well said, my friend. Well, thank you so much for being here at the All American Book Club. Love having you here. 110 endorse your books, and we're just so honored. Many blessings to you and your family.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. For all those who are tuning in, stay tuned. We'll be right back with our next segment.